Okay, so here we are for self-mastery, and today is the R in the care system. So we talked about C, which is confidence. We talked about alignment last week, and today R is resilience. And when we're talking about resilience, we're talking about emotional resilience. And so I'm excited to dive into this because, as you know, one of my biggest themes is we have to feel it to heal it. And sometimes we're afraid to feel the feelings because it's inconvenient. We don't have time for it. Or if you're like me, I watched my mom have a big heartbreak after losing the love of her life. And she was depressed and in the bed for 2 years. And there was a lot of neglect. There was a lot of like, we didn't get fed. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't food in the house, but there were not meals prepared. And the option in the pantry, if there was something, might be like a bag of chips. And so when I witnessed and watched my mom being so overcome with this emotion, I was like, I am never going to be like that. I am not doing that. That is like not the way to go. My little sister was Z's age at the time, Annie, and so she just spent a lot of time in the bed with my mom. And I just in that moment was like, I'm not doing this. And you know how sometimes our parents show us what we don't want, and so we go pendulum swing all the way over. And that's what I did. And so I didn't realize at the time that I was just like kind of guarding myself or putting this armor on around my heart and my feelings and emotions, but that's what I did. And it it kept me safe and it kept me from feeling too much. But the truth is, I never really felt the depths of like love and connection in relationship. And I was always on that scale of like 0 to 10 when it came to emotion. I was always somewhere between like a 4 and a 6. But I never, ever, ever got to like the 10, and I never, ever got to like the 0. And it felt safe until, of course, one day it's like, this is like okay, but I want to fully feel. And being emotionally resilient means that we allow ourselves to fully feel. And sometimes it's, and most often it's inconvenient. So we're going to talk today about how do you allow yourself to feel all the feels and become emotionally resilient without it taking over, and how to process through some of that. And so I'm going to let those of you who are on this call guide how we navigate this call. Oh, here comes our Rob. I think he couldn't help himself. So we're going to let Rob on for a second. We love it. Um, and maybe Robbie can just have his screen off, but just be here to listen and just soak it all in. But don't feel like you have to do anything. Just take care of you, Rob, and listen, but allow yourself to just like heal and bring in all of those like calm, soothing vibes and all the things. I know you're listening. I got your chat. So just rest and just be here. And if you feel like, you know what, this is feeling like it's emotionally taxing, because we're going to talk about emotional resilience, just know that you can hop off and there's a recording, or we can do some one-on-one with you, because that's the luxury of private coaching and us being able to dive deep with this. But whatever feels good. So let's go ahead and just like be present and drop in, and close your eyes when you're ready. And just exhale. I want you to just exhale, just an audible exhale, just like let it go. Beautiful. And on the inhale, expand your lungs and ribs. And just kind of see how that feels. Maybe it's really good and expansive and comfortable. Maybe you're feeling tightness in your chest or in your back body. Be gentle, be soft, be nourishing with your breath. And as you inhale and exhale, I want you to think about you're blowing up a balloon. And so it doesn't just automatically blow up and deflate. It's with one breath. It's getting bigger, it's expanding, and then contracting and coming down. Just start to move your lungs, move your belly, bringing that breath in and out. And on the next inhale, I want you to see if you can breathe down into your diaphragm instead of into your chest. So what that would look like is you're expanding the area below your ribs, and when you're inhaling, you're pushing the air down all the way into the belly, into the pelvic floor. And when you exhale, you're breathing it out through your pelvic floor. Bring the attention down instead of up. This is actually a proper breathing technique, and we're so high in our lungs and up here breathing that we're kind of like getting shorter breaths, but I want you to take it deep. That's beautiful. Keep doing that. One more of those breaths. And on the exhale, I want you to drop your shoulders away from your ears. And when you do that, think about a long string pulling the top of your head. Your chin is parallel to the floor. Your shoulders are away from your ears, and you're feeling very solid here. And take up space. Here you are. Whatever feels good, just be in your body, be in your physical body with those eyes closed. Bring all your attention into your body. How does your physical body feel? What do you need? I'm going to invite you to bring in any physical movement into your body. Move your body in a way that feels good. It might feel good to roll your shoulders back away from your ears, open up your heart, open your chest. Maybe you even bring your hands above your head, bringing one ear to the shoulder, one ear to the left. Let's take a moment to just kind of activate your physical body. Move your body in a way that feels good. We'll take about 3 more breaths moving your body, and maybe you're just bringing your body to stillness because you've been moving a lot and it's an opportunity to actually be still. So whatever feels good to you, trust your physical body. It knows what to do. It knows what it needs. So as you tune in to your physical body, giving it what it needs with one more breath, and do a body scan physically. How is your physical body feeling now in this moment on a scale of 0 to 10? 10 feels great. No pain, no stiffness, no tightness. It's very fluid. And 0 would be that you're kind of uncomfortable. Maybe you're really stiff. Maybe you're tight. Maybe there's a lot of pain. Perhaps even in this physical movement that we just did, you realized I probably need to stretch or I need to move my body a little bit more. Maybe you could go on a walk. Maybe you could do some yoga. Maybe you could just be in your environment and not have to schedule anything. Just give your body what it needs in the moment. It's a beautiful practice to close your eyes, because what happens is you stop paying attention to everything you see and you go completely inward. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how is your physical body today in this moment right now? And now I invite you to bring your attention to your mind. You know, this mind loves to just give us so many thoughts. Dr. Joe Dispenza says we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% are the same. So just notice how much is going on in your mind. What are your thoughts? And on a scale of 0 to 10, racing thoughts, lots of things flooding in your mind right now would be a 0. And having no thoughts at all, maybe even just like clouds moving by, maybe you can literally feel the calmness in your mind. That would be a 10. But just notice on a scale of 0 to 10, what's going on in your mind? What's going on in your head? And lock in that number on a scale of 0 to 10. How are you feeling? Where are you mentally? What's going on in your mind? Now, on the exhale, I want you to bring your attention to your heart. And we're going to focus on the heart today as the emotional body. Might feel good to put your hand on your heart if you want to. You could put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, or both hands on your heart stacked. Just feel into your emotional body. How are you feeling today? A 0 would be feeling nothing. You're completely disconnected from your emotional body. Shut that part down. And a 10 would be that you're feeling a lot. And remember, there's no judgment here. There's no right or wrong feelings. It's not good or bad. You could be feeling excited and joyful. It's spring, the sun is out, you're feeling great. You could feel like there's a little bit of heaviness. You don't even have to identify what it is or why, but I just want you to notice how much or how little you are feeling. 0 would be nothing at all. 10 would be that you're feeling a lot. Notice what your emotional body is feeling, how much or how little. And now I want you to move your attention to perhaps your other hand on your belly, or that space. It could be just below your ribs, which is your solar plexus. That's your personal power. Sometimes that's the place that you might feel connected to your spiritual body or your soul. It might be somewhere else. Wherever you have identified where and what your spiritual body feels like. It could be your entire being. Sometimes people like to focus on the third eye just between your eyebrows. This is your third eye energy center, which is your higher self or your knowing. That could feel like the connection of that. Just tune in to your spiritual body. This is really the essence of who you are. How quiet or loud is that voice? How easy or challenging is it to hear your intuition or that inner voice? If you can hear it pretty well, that's a 10. And if you're having a hard time connecting or hearing your intuition, that would be a 0. So just notice. On a scale of 0 to 10, where are you spiritually? And then now I want you to bring your attention to your relationships. This is not one of your 4 bodies, but because relationships are the currency of life and truly what connect us, what sustains us, I want you to become aware of your social relationships, the people in your life. How connected or disconnected are you from the people and the relationships that you have? It might even start with you being connected or disconnected to yourself. Notice on a scale of 0 to 10, how connected or disconnected are you? Disconnected socially would be a 0, and feeling really connected and nourished and inspired by your relationships would be a 10. So now that you've taken inventory of that, I want you to take another big, deep breath in. And when you exhale and let it all go, you can blink open your eyes. And I want you to record that, write that down, because again, we're watching, looking at patterns, we're looking at seasons, we're looking at times of the month, how you're feeling based off of what's going on in your life. Thanks for dropping in with that, Rob. And remembering, you're going to get pretty clear on how are you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I want you to just pay attention to what's your low, right? And what's your high. And if you have numbers that are tied, you get to pick what that is. Where do you feel like you're really, really crushing it? And where do you feel like the low is? Let's start with the win and focus on that number that's your win today. Thank you, Kristen, for dropping that in. For numbers' sake here, and just to look again, this is why I love community. This is why I love that we get to come together, because you can start to see trends or patterns. And you can see that, oh, wow, I'm not the only one, or like, okay, this is kind of like this is kind of a theme here. Um, and when you look at this, I'm gonna point out, because I see a common thing here. And the common thing is physical and mental. Okay, physical and mental are a little bit lower for most today. Every one of you, all of you are really thriving in your social relationships, which makes so much sense to me because of the season of spring. So we get out of hibernation, we get out of winter, the sun comes out a little bit, and we just kind of are so ready for it. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so ready. I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to go socialize. I'm ready to talk to people. The sun is shining, and I feel great about that. So just notice that everyone's social today is a 10. It's a win, it's a high. And you can see that it's seasonal, right? So we see that. And also, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it feels good. Feels good to be connected. Look at outside of the relationship one. I want you to look at what your high is outside of relationship, outside of social. And I want you to just focus on that for a minute and ask yourself, why is that my win? And if you know why it's your win and you want to share, I'd love to hear. What are you doing? What do you like? What is your action? What action are you taking that is creating a win there? Why is it a win?
So, Kate, I wanted to hop on and share really quick.
Please.
Is I in this whole process, I don't know if I've talked about this before. So if I have, sorry, but if not, here we go. Anyway, it's at first socially, I was thinking like business wise, which is still good, right? Like this is what we do for money and yada yada yada. So I'm thinking like posting, calling people, doing all of that stuff, which is great. But I had this mental shift of connection
Mm.
socially. And it was in one of the calls and you had said something to me, Kate, and I like just as us as a whole, and it just clicked for me. And I'm like, and so instead of talking about posting, because that's like naturally to me and, you know, flowing through business, there's things that can be in place, but I'm like, how connected am I to people? Like, am I spending time with my family and with my partner? And when I'm talking to my friends, am I just, verbally like vomiting on them? Or am I allowing that? Like, am I asking them questions? Like, what is my point in that connection? And so from that shift, I've felt so much more authentic in everything that I've been doing, and intentionally setting time aside of like just 5 minutes I'm going to spend with one of my boys and ask how they're doing or show them something funny that I thought about them. And so that's really so my social has been at a higher number instead of like, oh, I need to go to this event and I've got to call this person. I've got to do because we already have kind of the things we know we need to do. But it, like I said, it's like that social connection, rather than just being there, like as a body, like, oh, I'm here, I made it, I'm doing that, I'm checking off the box.
I love
So,
it. I love
anyway.
it. This has been a conversation that has been up for me in my personal life and also in coaching. And I appreciate you bringing it up because, first of all of you, it was a win. And I love that you said two things. It's about connection and not about a checklist. And what I heard from you, Kristen, is it's about the quality of that connection versus the quantity of people that I'm talking at or talking above or like in proximity to, but instead that one person that's in front of you,
Hmm.
person that showed up, that's standing in front of you, that you deeply connect to. You're like, I'm making eye contact with you. I see you. I'm listening to you. I am fully present in the connection with you in this moment. And isn't it fascinating how much satisfaction and fulfillment you can get in 5 minutes? In 5 minutes. And this connection piece is really important. Really important. If you're out there, we all are out there making connections, seeking clients, right? Whatever you're at, whatever, whether it's real estate, whether it's coaching or it's healing or wherever we are, we're all very connected in this. And the most fascinating thing is that every person in this self-mastery group is either in real estate or some type of coaching healing space, everyone, which I think is just super cool. So let's talk about this for a minute, specifically when it comes to like social and you have business goals for clients. And it's like, I'm going to connect with 3 people today. Well, what does connection actually look like? And how do you shut off everything around you to be fully present in the moment with the person that you're with instead of thinking about it as a checklist and about the next person that I'm going to get to? I was talking with a client yesterday that I coach, and she's one of my favorites, and I've been working with her for a long time. And I love it because she's now taken this practice of the social piece and literally skyrocketing it with her coaching to the next level. And she's like, Kate, we make these checklists of like, I need to create this reel and I need to like talk to this many people today. And she said, what we do is we lose the depth and the opportunity to go so deep with the person that's right in front of us. That's the client. That is the next client. That is the person right there. But because we're so focused on the number game, I got to talk to 10 people, I got to call 3 people, we lose the opportunity for the person that is right in front of us. So, what if the person that is right in front of you is the next person, is the next client, is the person that you get to connect with today? Because of all the people in the world, this is the person that's right here. And then you take it even deeper of like out of like even business, and it's our kid. We all are in a place where we're like, I want to be able to I want my kid to trust me. I want to be able to give them the wisdom or the insight, or like, I want to know what to say in that moment to like, that's what we all really want is connection, deep connection. And we're trying to fill a void. And when we're doing a checklist or we're just like giving it all like 30 to 50, 60%, there's still this like emptiness or this void or like it didn't quite satisfy the thing. But when you take the opportunity to look at the person who is sitting right in front of you or talking to you and be fully present in the moment, it is the greatest gift you will ever give them. And it is the most rewarding thing you will ever experience on the flip side. So I love this, and I if it's okay, I want this to just be the conversation and the win for all of us. And let's talk about looking at, why do you feel so satisfied in this right now? Why is it such a win? What are you doing that's working? How deeply are you connected? Is it that you've slowed down a little bit, so you're actually going deeper? Or is it that you're more present because you have more bandwidth and capacity to like fully be there to hold space? Like, what is it that you're doing? Why do you feel so much fulfillment? And bring it back to like, it's authentic, true connection. You're feeling the thing, and the satisfaction's there. And that's why your rate can get what it is. So, Kristen, thank you for bringing up that conversation. I appreciate it. We're going to just shift to the low right now. And again, we don't need to share unless you feel called to and want to. But I want you to take a look at the low in your numbers. Everyone is low mentally. Everyone. So this is an opportunity for you to ask yourself, what's one thing I could do to just really get those thoughts and get that mental space to just calm and slow down a little bit. I love that this is where you are, because we're going to talk about this today. In fact, we're going to talk about emotional resilience. Everybody looks like they're really feeling a lot, which is awesome. And today, with emotional resilience, it also is coupled with radical accountability. Okay. So when you think about becoming emotionally resilient, I want you to think about, you also have to be radically accountable for your own emotions. Where we get disconnected and misaligned is when we start to project onto other people that I feel this way because you said this. I feel this way because you acted in a way. I feel this way because, and you put it outside of you. And I'm going to invite you to say, don't do that. Because the truth is, no one can make you feel a way. I can't touch you and say, be sad, be mad. I just touched you and I made you, right? It's like, well, they made me mad. Well, they made me frustrated. Well, I'm going to disagree and say you chose to be frustrated. You chose to be mad based off the story that you told yourself about that experience. So let me repeat that. There's this deep connection between your feelings, your emotions, and the story that you're telling yourself, or the perspective that you have. So how do we get that perspective? Where does that even come from? This is why I love the Enneagram, because you can take personal responsibility for your emotions when you know your shadow, when you know that I see life through this lens based off my childhood experience. I'm looking at the emotions and what's coming up in my life based off of my perspective. And what is very interesting is, as little kids, as we're growing up in the world, we learn about our feelings. We learn about how to interpret the world based off whatever happened in our childhood. So what happens is, you can find themes where over and over and over again, you're like, here it is again, here it is again, here it is again. So I know all of your Enneagrams, and I want to talk about self-sabotaging behaviors based off the Enneagram. So your Enneagram shows you all parts of you. Today, we're going to focus on the shadow part of you, okay? So your shadow side, remember, in the most simple form, is you as a little girl or a little boy. And you can go all the way back to your childhood and you can remember something that happened in your life that really shifted the way you saw the world. So before this thing happened, you saw the world with all of the trust and all of the love and all of the abundance and all of the opportunity and all of the trust of everything that was happening in your life. And then something happened. And whatever it was, it could be big trauma, it could be little trauma. I tell the story all the time of being left, right? If you ever forgot to pick up a kid or drop them off, I forgot that the piano teacher wasn't there for Savannah when she was 5. I didn't mean to create that in her life, but I did. I forgot that the piano teacher was out of town. I dropped her off. I kept going on to the next thing. And she will never forget it. And we talk about it. But what you can know for sure, no matter what that experience was in your life, that there has been an experience. And then, because remember how the brain works, right? Remember, we go back to that. The subconscious has two functions. And let me remind you that the subconscious is 95% of what your daily thoughts are. Only 5% is in the conscious mind. Isn't that wild? Talk about programming. Talk about being on a default of like the same thing over and over again. Listen, you know what the definition of insanity is, right? It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So if you're doing the same thing over and over and you're expecting a different result, insane. But that's the default, right? That's the way the brain works. So what you can do here is you can just notice that, okay, the truth, the facts are my brain is in the subconscious mostly, 95% of my day. The subconscious runs off of past experiences or trauma or whatever it is that's happened. My subconscious wants to keep me safe. So then when I've had the experience, I'm like, oh, I'm never doing that again because I want to be safe. And then we replay these same things over and over and over, and we create these self-sabotaging behaviors. So there's two parts to this, right? There's like the experience that created the emotion in the body called trauma, and the emotional body remembers it. and it finds ways to validate it over and over and over again. And so it stacks up the evidence, right? And then the story gets bigger, the story gets stronger, the story gets um, more solidified, and it becomes a belief. So now it's not just an experience that happened. This is real. This is true. This is absolute in my life. So again, I'm giving you all of this context because I just want you to understand the science and the way that our operational system works, regardless of what the emotion is and regardless of what the story and the experience is. We all have this in common. So understanding this shadow part of you will help you and your partner see when you are in this default, which is your younger self. You can go, okay, that's actually little Annie showing up right now. That's not Annie as an adult. That's little Annie showing up. And I understand this because, and you can fill in the blanks. So then, as in partnership, this is why this matters, because then you can hold space for your partner. You can see, like, wow, okay, he or she is trying to push me away, or they're in their avoidant behavior because, right, all of these things. And the biggest part of it is you don't take it personally. You don't take it personally. So this comes back to that radical accountability is this is your thing. And even if it's being projected, the other person does not take that personally, and you get to own it back and be radically accountable and go, oh my gosh, I do this thing. And you can understand that part of you instead of being in your shadow and going into the shame and guilt cycle. Because when you get in the shame and guilt cycle, I should have known better. Here I am again. I always do this. I'm such an idiot. This is so embarrassing. That is not going to help you ever. But when you can look at the shadow part of you and be like, oh gosh, that's my inner child. That's that little girl that got left, or that's that little boy that only got praised when he did things right, or helped people, or served people. Then you can go, okay, I see that. I see that. So it's just a part of you. Okay. And usually it's a quiet part of you because we haven't let it fully come to the surface. And I'm going to invite you to let it come to the surface and name it and claim it and love it and give it what it needs so that it doesn't have to feel so dark and it doesn't have to feel so shadow. And you get to move through this a lot faster. You'll start moving through it a lot faster. So let me remind you that if you are an Enneagram type 2, you have the fear of being unloved or unwanted or of being needy. Okay. So you just know that. You just know that. And it's your fear. It is actually not how other people see you until you're projecting it and putting it out. And oftentimes, whatever we are feeling, that's the lens, that's the perspective that we see it through. And then we start to see the world that way, right? And so if you're ever feeling like, as an Enneagram 2, if you're ever feeling like, oh my gosh, that person is so needy, maybe look back at yourself and go, how am I being needy? Right? It's just a mirror, it's a reflection. Or when you feel yourself starting to be needy, you're like, okay, this is my younger version of me who like really needs to be seen or needs to be reinforced, and say like, I see you, I love you. Like, how can I show up for you? Instead of like, oh my gosh, I'm so annoyed by that. So again, this is why it's helpful to know in partnership that for those of us that are a type 7 Enneagram, it's the fear of deprivation. Okay. It's the fear of getting stuck in a rut. It's boredom. We hate being bored, hate being bored. So we also hate missing out, FOMO, if you are an Enneagram 7. So knowing that, right? It's like, how often is there like this little bit of like, maybe a little bit of like energy where there it can be like an overactive energy, right? Just to like wanting to be included or wanting to not be left out, or like wanting to just like say yes to lots of things because of that FOMO energy. And also the shadow side of the Enneagram 7 can lean to some kind of addictive behavior because we just want to feel good. So when you're bored, or when you're feeling, honestly, it's boredom a lot, or if you're just feeling like deprivation, like it's like, what can I fill that with? What can I fill that with? I need something else. I need something else to make me feel better because it's the discomfort of a lack or an emptiness that feels really uncomfortable. So how do we navigate that and what do we do? Here, let me go through these self-sabotaging behaviors. As a type 2, your sabotaging behaviors can happen because you may constantly make yourself, you're trying to constantly make yourself lovable. And, but then the interesting flip part of this is you refuse to accept love from other people, right? Because you're used to transactional support. So it's something to look at, right? It's like maybe the belief is, well, they're only doing this because they want something from me. They don't really love me. They don't really like me. They don't really want to spend time with me. They just want something in return. So anytime you ever find yourself thinking that, it's like, whoa, this is my self-sabotaging behavior. This is me being in my shadow of that little child or that little boy. And like, how can I shift this? Okay. There can also be like a lot of people pleasing behavior and prioritizing others, but then that creates resentment. So just again, be aware of it. And your Enneagram is a great tool to like really dive into this. Go back to that Enneagram, those results, and really look at them. Really, really look at those self-sabotaging behaviors and ask yourself, how do I do this in my relationship? How do I do this in my business? Right? Like if you feel rejected by someone, or you feel like someone didn't call you back, or you feel like they didn't whatever follow through, just really start to break this down and look at like, okay, how do I sabotage in friendships? How do I sabotage in partnership? And how do I sabotage in even like a business environment? It can be really helpful because the more you know yourself and the better you understand yourself, the more you can see this. And this is all tied to emotional resilience, because when you understand the thoughts and the beliefs in your head and the stories that you tell yourself, you start feeling a certain way based off the story, right? You start linking these two together. And if you want to feel better, you ask yourself, well, what was the story I was just telling myself? As an Enneagram 7, you're the enthusiast, right? So an Enneagram 7 can avoid commitment, right? For anything too long. So those of us who are Enneagram 7s in partnership, it can feel non-committal. It can feel like there's inconsistency, like jumping from one new interest to the next, or overscheduling to avoid facing deeper emotions or boredom, or feeling like that emptiness, or using any distractions to escape difficult situations, becoming addicted to novelty seeking activities like shopping or travel or just anything, right, that like feels good. So just noticing that if you feel like, I just need, like, it's almost like this internal like neediness for something because the void is like not comfortable. Notice, gosh, what am I trying to feel right now? And as an Enneagram 7, one of the best things you can do is be bored. Here's why. It's actually when your most spiritual connection and downloads will come. When you can just be quiet and get still, which is so uncomfortable, feels like you're not doing anything, that is when the biggest downloads, the biggest ahas, the biggest things will come. So that behavior in partnership can feel like, wow, you're all over the place. There's no consistency, and I don't even know what I'm going to get today in your partnership. So again, you can look and see how these things work. What I want to do is I want to give you an opportunity to practice something. It's actually in the portal, but I want to bring it right here to everyone right now because I want to give you an opportunity to really take something away from this experience in today's call. You can definitely go deeper in the Enneagram. And I really encourage you to learn about your self-sabotaging behaviors because the more you know yourself, the better you can navigate things and be like, oh, I know me. I know what's coming up. And this is how you can be radically accountable instead of like trying to, put it off on someone else. It's like, if remember, if you take anything from this call, if you're feeling a certain way, that's on you. And you can look at it and go, okay, what was I just thinking about? Well, of course I'm feeling this way because I was just thinking about that. And then this is where you use SNAP, right? So you stop, you notice how you're feeling. Okay, ask yourself, what was I just thinking about? Okay. Number one, is it true? You could ask yourself that, like, is it true? Is it absolutely true? Do I absolutely know that on purpose she said that thing because blah, 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 blah? And you start to break it down. This is Byron Katie's work. If you're familiar with the work with Byron Katie, it's super powerful. You can also just notice, oh, I'm thinking about this. Okay, well, this is my self-sabotaging behavior, or this is my inner child. So of course I would feel this way. Well, is it actually true today? Or is that just my younger self? So there's processes in that. You SNAP, okay? I want to take you through an activity right now. This is in the portal and you can use this over and over and over, but let's do it right now. So I want you to all just close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to think about a recent strong emotion that you've been experiencing, okay? So just think about a recent strong emotion. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Any emotion. A recent strong emotion you've been feeling. Okay, it could be conflict with someone in your life that you might feel like you're struggling with. It could be someone you care about that's causing you to, you're thinking it's, well, I'm feeling this way because of this. It could be something at work, it could be one of your children struggling, and you're feeling a lot about their struggle, whatever it is. Again, just think about a recent, strong emotional experience. Okay. I want you to go deeper and discover what you are feeling. I want you to name it. I want you to name it. You can ask, what is this emotion? Where is it in my body? See if you can identify it. Where are you feeling it in your body? So once you figure out where it is in your body, you could bring in your wisdom about energy centers. See if there's a connection to where you're feeling it. Sometimes if it's heavy, if it's in your chest or if it's in your throat, maybe it's in your belly, maybe it's on your shoulders, it feels like a weight. Just notice, where in your body are you feeling it? And keep your eyes closed, but when you've identified where in your body you're feeling this emotion, I want you to just raise your hand so we can move on. Great. Now I want you to identify name the feeling. What is this feeling? And same thing, no rush, take your time. But when you can identify that, I want you to raise your hand. Great. And now I want you to ask yourself, what thought did you have that triggered this response? So what was the thought? What was the story? What's the belief? and let yourself go there. Tell yourself the story. Don't try to spiritually bypass this process. This is part of how you become emotionally resilient. You move through this. You have to go through the process. You can't bypass it. You have to experience it. You have to let yourself have the experience. So when you get to clarity around what thought you had that triggered this response, I want you to raise your hand. Okay. And now I want you to ask yourself, what in this situation is true? What is true? What is true? Once you've identified what is true, accept it. It is what it is. Just accept it. Total acceptance. Instead of slipping into sadness or disappointment, just accept it. It is what it is. If this has to do with someone else, maybe you just get to tell yourself, trust people when they show you who they are. Or the results of what is happening or what's happened, it is what it is. And it's creating a feeling based off your belief. Total acceptance. When you just allow this acceptance, then you won't resist it. So just allow your body to totally accept it. It is what it is. Now I want you to go back to that place in your body where you were feeling it and notice how it feels. So that gap between where that emotion is and that stress or that want or desire for something to be different is where the agitation, the frustration, the sadness, the heaviness, all of that just keeps stirring and stirring and stirring with this person, with this situation. When you can just say, it is what it is. I'm going to let go of the wishing, the hoping, and even the emotional stress that might be coming. And you start to release that. Notice how that gets released out of your body. You might yawn, you might exhale, you might soften into your body a little bit. But allow that emotion to just shift. You don't have to identify what it is now, but just allow it to move through. You might need to move your body. You might need to let it escape however it does. And now the question I want you to ask yourself is, what else is true? And get curious. What else is true? What else could be true? What else could be true? And as you're asking yourself what else could be true, I want you to bring that attention and keep that attention in your body where you felt that emotion. And as you ask yourself what else could be true, just continue to notice where in your body that is, and notice what's happening as you discover what else could be true. And what else? And what else? I want you to take a big inhale. And when you exhale, I want you to give an audible or ah. And do that 3 times. Inhale. And when you exhale, make an audible ha or an ah, whatever feels good to you, but release that and let that energy move out of your body. We are releasing somatically, releasing emotion, releasing the energy out of your body. Yawn, wiggle your jaw, move your neck, whatever you need. Let your body, trust your body knows what to do. Your body knows how to release this energy, this emotion that's been in your body and trapped. On that last exhale, when you let it all go, I want you to bring your attention back to that space in your body. And I want you to just notice how it feels now. Bringing in compassion. Thanking your body for keeping you safe. Thanking your emotional body for indicating something to you. And when you take the next inhale, on the exhale, I want you to blink open your eyes. And we've got a few minutes, I'd love for you to share you can share anything about the experience. Thank you, Annie.
I've done a lot of Byron Katie's work, and it always brings me back to a more regulated space, and then choosing, of course, how I can be the change that I want to see. And it's always the same for me. Anything that does trigger me or makes me feel frustrated, it's because I'm not using my voice. It has nothing to do with even the situation or the person, although that's what I think the problem is. I think that I want them to change. I want to control them. I need them to be different so that I don't have to do the work. But as soon as I say what I need to say, their actions don't even matter anymore. It's just this will always come up in my life, I think, until I practice using my voice at that moment rather than waiting and waiting and waiting. So it's a tricky thing because doing the work kind of dissipates and re-regulates, but then that challenge will come up again. If that test will come up again of like, okay, are you going to use your voice this time? And that can be frustrating. So the frustration that I'm trying to avoid then comes up again. So it's just that reminder of using my voice and saying what I need to say and not being afraid of the backlash of what is going to happen, because the backlash I'm experiencing anyways is this suffering inside of myself, this self-betrayal. I'm betraying myself anyways. So I might as well just say the thing and fuck their feelings, because you can't move on if you don't say it. But I felt that in my heart. And then as we went through the process, it definitely went away and dissipated once I realized, okay, all that story I was telling myself really isn't true. None of that is true. The truth is they want what I want. And that's how they're trying to get it, because of my own problems. And how can I change and be the one to open the door, be more vulnerable, all the things. You're on mute. You're muted, Kate.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate you sharing that. It's so powerful for us to be able to this is emotional resilience. It's taking 100% ownership for what we are feeling. We have no control over other people, zero. And when we put the control, like I'll feel better when this person does this, I'll feel better when he does this, I'll feel better, we are completely powerless. We are the victim in our lives versus being empowered. And being empowered is being emotionally resilient and taking full accountability for how I respond, right? We can choose if we continue to engage with that person or what they are showing us or whatever it might be. But this process is to help you feel better. This process is to give you freedom. It really has nothing to do with the other person, but is a tool that will allow you to emotionally regulate. And what I want to be very clear about is it is not enough to spiritually bypass it and say to yourself, well, I shouldn't feel that way, or like, I know this is a me thing, or whatever. Totally, 100%. And if you do not go through the process that we just went through to literally like allow yourself to identify, where is it in my body? What is it? So where is it in your body? Identify and name it, and just feel it, accept it. Like, I'm disappointed, I'm sad, I feel unseen, I feel like I'm not being heard, whatever it is, just feel it. Like, allow yourself, this is the feel it to heal it. Feel it. Okay. Then you can come back to that question of, is this true? Is it actually really true? Or is it just the story? Is it the belief that has been created from that shadow part of me that feels unloved, unseen, unheard, whatever? Then you can look at that and go, okay, so what's really true? And then you get to that point, and then you can release it. You can literally like release it. And it's fascinating because as I witnessed both of you, there was so much yawning for Kristen. There was so much, like literally 3 or 4 times, she's like fully yawning. Great. That's like that is that thing in you. Maybe you're sick and tired of it. Maybe you're like, I am tired of this. This is making me tired. This is like physically making me tired. But whatever it is, look at that of like, oh, interesting. And Annie, you were here moving your throat, you're like side to side, making room. So then to hear you say it's a voice thing, it's a throat thing, it's a speaking your truth thing. This is how wise the body is. And this is why we bring all 4 bodies together, because what is happening in your physical body is connected to your emotional body and your mental body. And when you can really start to go, okay, wow, this is interesting, you start to see how when you move through these emotions, you'll start to even see how it will shift and change the weight that you are holding on to, because weight is not just what you eat and how much or how little you exercise. It is literally part of an emotional process of moving through and releasing things. Weight is emotional weight also. And when we allow ourselves to go through this process over and over and over again with emotion, you'll start to feel lighter. Your shoulders will feel less heavy. Your stomach will feel less upset. You know, like your chest won't feel as tight. There's different things that happen here. So I know we're over big time. I apologize, but I wanted to wrap this up. Thank you for being here and continue to practice this. And if you want to go deeper or go through any of that I went through with you, it is in the portal. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and for the extra time that we went over today. Thank you.